All right, let's start. So summer has ended and Meetup 124 has started. I'm in front of the, okay, I have to stand here. So let's look at our schedule today. So I hope you already did the first thing, which is getting seats, finding drinks in whichever order you want. Next up, we're going to have our speaker session, this time a very special guest from rather far away. After that, short introductions to announcements and to news of our small industry. Then it's up to you guys to do the speaking, because it's free mic, aka show and tell. And then I would hope that it's not the highlight, but probably for some of you it is. It's the game. And then it's networking and playtesting games. You can see that someone is already prepared. Anyone who wants to playtest their games is welcome to do so. So without further ado, let's see who do we have as a speaker today. So I don't think in history of Latvian GameDev Meetups we've had a guest from so far away. So I'm sorry if I'm gonna misspell your name. Mao Sugiyama. He's originally he's gonna talk about Nintendo Switch, an introduction for developers and publishers. So I want you to give a very hearty round of applause.
Okay, good. So, hello everybody. This is a lot more people than I actually expected. I was thinking about 4 people, so this is about 40 times or maybe 20 times above my expectations. So, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the opportunity for me to be here, or for us to be here, in fact. So, an introduction for developers and publishers. So, as I was kindly introduced, I am based in Germany, which is where the European headquarters of Nintendo is. And we're basically responsible for all businesses outside of Japan, East Asia, and America. The rest of the world is somehow Europe. And that also includes Australia for some reason. Some of you know why. We can talk about that later. So I'll skip this. I also have my colleague here. Quick introduction.
Hi guys, my name is Bedran. I'm a marketing administrator at NOE. And we are a team of 4 people. At the bottom you can see our mail address, and mainly we do additional support for launches, like for big beats. And yes, I will say a bit more about this later, so just hand over to Mao again.
Thank you very much. Can you shift over a bit so I don't keep on blocking the projector? So what do we do at Nintendo? So we embrace working with big and small companies. I think Nintendo is one of those companies where everybody has an opinion about Nintendo. They all have their own image about Nintendo, and this may not necessarily be what we're trying to be or what we are. But it's a good thing that everybody, we're in everybody's thoughts. So contrary to what most of people think, it's like, oh, Nintendo, they only work with big companies. It's not true at all. When we actually talk to partners, we're not really looking at what company they work for or how much money they have or how many employees they have. We don't care about that at all. We're just looking at what content they're making, what kind of games they're creating. I guess a good example is like, I mean, does anyone know Undertale? Yeah, Toby Fox. It's one guy, right? And you know, when he pitched the game, we didn't go, oh, you're just one guy in your bedroom making games. You know, we saw his game, and it's like, oh wow, this is amazing. Let's do something with it. And this is the kind of way we work. So we don't go, oh, you have 10,000 people working for you. Okay, well, let's do business. That's really not the way we work. So yeah, we really focus on content. And yeah, this is a bit of a corporate motto. And what this really means for us is that we want to make everybody happy as much as we can. And this doesn't mean just making money, but you know, everybody who we're getting involved with, developers, gamers, you know, retailers, distributors, just everybody who works in a part of our business is somehow happier than they were before they did it. And that's what we are trying to do. So just for an icebreaker, quick trivia. This is fun. When do you think Nintendo was established? So raise your hand if you think it was 1889. It's a bit of a stretch. 1947. Yeah, and then 1974. All right, yeah, good. It's a very good split. So the correct answer is 1889. Really? Okay. Well, do you want to see the picture of our first office, which was in Kyoto, in Japan? That was the first office. These fences are not there to lock up your bicycle, which is what they're doing, is to keep the horses away. So this is the era Nintendo started. We don't actually have this building anymore, unfortunately, but our offices now look like this. Far more boring, to be honest. So we have our headquarters in Kyoto, in Japan. So it's about 500 kilometers west to Tokyo, 2 hours on the train. And that's basically most of where our employees are based. We also have an office in Redmond, in Washington State in the US. So that's where next to Seattle. We're actually like one small building surrounded by Microsoft. It's like a whole Microsoft town, and we're just like one small building. And I think on the east side it's covered with Amazon. So we're literally just like being squashed between two giant companies. And I think we're really, really small in that spot. And then in Europe, in Frankfurt, we have Nintendo of Europe. That's a fairly new building, actually. It's not really nice to work in, but it looks nice. And that's basically where we handle all the European businesses. So we're kind of global. We work very globally with other entities. We call them NOA, NCL, and NOE. It sounds kind of cooler that way. And essentially, we're covering the whole entire world with the three main offices. So let's just go to quick second trivia. So I said 1889. What did we make in 1889? So raise your hand if you think it was Game & Watch. Not a single person. Okay, fine. Playing cards? Okay. Game Boy? Okay. Okay, that was too easy. So yeah, it was playing cards. These are actually called Hanafuda. And they're not the same as the Western playing cards you are familiar with. And these actually originate from the Portuguese carta that was imported to Japan in like mid-1500s. And that was like when the first contact between the Western civilization happened with Japan. Portuguese sailors brought in these entertainment called carta. And then it kind of stuck, and then they started making their own version. I don't think the Portuguese can tell what this is anymore. And this is what Nintendo has been making for the last 100-odd years. We still actually make these cards, and I don't think we'll ever stop making them. Doesn't make too much money, but it's kind of our core business. So we're maintaining this Hanafuda business in Japan. And you can actually still buy them every now and then. So that's what we do. Does anyone own Nintendo Switch? Ah, quite a few. And does anyone own not Nintendo Switch but other Nintendo consoles? Fair amount. Okay, so I may actually skip explaining to you what Nintendo Switch is, if I may. But you know, it's a decent console. We've got 3 different models now. The flagship Nintendo Switch Lite, which is a much smaller version, and then we now have the latest model, Nintendo Switch OLED model. It's really cool. The screen's really nice, and it actually consumes far less electricity. I think it runs on 6 watts, so the battery life is much better than the old one. So it first launched in March 2017, so that was good 6.5 years ago. It's getting on a bit, I know, but it's still doing really, really well. I think it's becoming the one of the best consoles in Nintendo's history. Only second to, I think, DS, which probably sold about 130 million, 140, I can't remember. And I think our target really is to get to the top, the best-selling console ever, which I think was PS2, and that's like 150 something. So, you know, give us a couple of more years and we'll get there. Because as of May 30, we have actually sold 125 million units, and I think now it's what, 13th of September, I'd say we've probably sold about 130. And over Christmas, we tend to sell 5-10 million units across the globe. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be at around 135, 140, something like that. And this is what our market looks like. So Americas, that includes US, Canada, Mexico, and then all the LATAM regions. That comprises of 39% of the total market share globally. Japan alone has 23% of the global market. And then Europe has 26%, but this is a very collective effort because you can imagine how many countries there are in Europe. So, you know, probably like 1% per country, and we've got 26%. And then we have 12% for other, so that includes, actually, oddly enough, we don't count the Nordics as part of Europe because it's a slightly different business. So it's the Nordics, as in the 4 countries, and then I think Eastern Europe. So anything east of Poland is again included in the other. So actually, Europe here, by our definition, is like 11 countries. Why is that? It's just the countries that we have a direct office in, because we don't have an office in Latvia yet. We don't have an office in Poland, for instance. So actually, Germany is the furthest east that we have an office. It's really odd, but that's how it is. Yeah, and that's how it's going right now. And then, I mean, you know, these are slightly old titles, to be honest. I haven't updated these slides, but you know, we have a lot of games on Nintendo Switch. So many kinds of different games. These days, I honestly can't think of a console where it offers so many kind of different types of games. You know, if you're into a certain genre, you're bound to find at least one game you would be willing to play. And you know, that includes people like my mum. She also plays on Nintendo Switch, and yeah, I mean, she doesn't stop because she keeps on finding something that she likes when she finishes one. So, you know, it just keeps on going. And a lot of this has happened, not actually because of Nintendo, right? I mean, you know, we tried, but we're not actually that great. You know, we're not magicians. We can't make things up. And what made Nintendo Switch really great, in our opinion, is third-party partners. And that basically is kind of all of you here. Maybe in future, maybe you are already a partner. But this is basically our focus right now. So we're acutely aware. So people always laugh when I say this, but we are, in a way, not as big as our competitors. Okay, I mean, for instance, if you look at the company size, employees, the turnover with Microsoft or Sony, we're like a few percent of those giant companies. So why are we able to compete sometimes with these giants, it's because we are so highly specialized in video games. That is all we do, and cards. Video games and cards. That's all we do. So if you take that away from us, we don't have anything left. And the biggest supporter of our business is our third-party partners. You make games that Nintendo is simply not able to make. And this is also down to resources, ideas, because I think you all have an idea of what kind of games Nintendo tend to make. You can kind of imagine certain genres Nintendo would probably never really touch. And this is not because we don't like these games. That's not true. We like all kinds of games, but certain games we're just not very good at making. We have no experience in making. I think it would be a nightmare if you ask Nintendo to do like some form of FPS shooter, right? I think we'll mess it up big time. So, we're not going to even try. And so this way, we are really relying on the creativity of our partners. And that includes the big companies, yes, of course, but even more so, the indie partners. And this really stretches from, a quite big indie that maybe has 100 people, 50 people, all the way down to a one-man, one-woman studio. So, I mean, these are, again, relatively old games, but, these games are immensely popular on Switch. We admit, in some cases, people buy Nintendo Switch to play non-Nintendo games, which is something that is very new to Nintendo. I think up until Wii U, Nintendo games were the sole reason why people bought Nintendo consoles. If you asked, 10 people, why did you buy the latest Nintendo console? We expected, 9.5 of them to say, because I want to play this game from Nintendo. Nowadays, it's not the case. It's about 5, actually. So half of the people who are playing on the Nintendo Switch are not necessarily there for Nintendo games. And you might think we don't like this, but it's quite the opposite, because that basically means, because we are also making more games these days, we are also growing and we're getting bigger, but we just can't catch up with the speed of the growth of collective partners. And we don't think we'll ever catch up. So that gap is going to be widening, year on year. And that means we're going to be relying on our partners forevermore from now on going forward. So this is another reason why Nintendo is super duper keen nowadays to support more indie games. And we now have a dedicated show called the Indie World. So I think you might have heard of Nintendo Direct, which was started by our late president, Mr. Iwata. And Indie World is basically the indie version of this. So in Nintendo Direct, we show a lot of Nintendo games as well as our partner games. But in Indie World, we don't show any Nintendo games. We basically step away, we hide. We're nobody in Indie World. And we say, okay, the stage is yours. It's for the indie partners. So we globally select the best indie titles that are coming up with the best news, juiciest news. And then we present them on our platform with our owned channels. And then, we promote, we market to show the indie world and indie games in the indie world. I get confused saying indie so many times. This is just one of the initiatives that we're doing to support our partners. And this one actually is really limited to those studios that self-claim that they are indies, because we can't really define indies. I mean, how do you define an indie studio? Like, if somebody says, "Oh, we're indie," then you're indie. That's how we do it. And so yeah, I mean, this is a part of the effort we're doing to support indie titles. So where are we with games? So since March 2017, I think we started with like 25 games or something at launch. I can't remember. We are now at 10,000 games. and I think Nintendo maybe managed to make 60, 70 games in that time. So 9,930 games on the eShop are made by our partners. That's the reality at the moment. And as I said, this gap is going to be widening. So yeah, it might become 15,000 games, and then maybe we would have made 10 more by that time, because we're releasing like 3 or 4 a year now, right? So, so that's how it is at the moment. So, long story short, very long story short, your game, if you're making a game, if you are not making a game, if you're thinking of making a game, then when you do make your game, it could be on our platform. It's not that difficult, as people think. And again, going back to the image of Nintendo, I know some of you probably think Nintendo is a bit aloof, don't respond or can't talk to them, can't get contact. How do we get on Nintendo Switch? Well, actually, we don't even have concept approval. So you don't have to prove to us anything to release a game on the platform. So how do you do it? You go to this website and you register as a developer. And you really don't need anything. You just go there, you register, and then you can basically register to this website, and then you become a Nintendo developer. There is another step to be receiving the Nintendo Switch dev kits, because they are full of Nintendo property in terms of software, SDK, IP. So you do have to be a business entity. You have to have registered as a business in some form. It's not too strict. So for instance, yesterday in Estonia, everybody said like, oh, there are so many Turkish developers who are registered in Estonia because you can just do it as a registration in Estonia without even being in Estonia. Well, there you have a company, then you can register, and then you can apply for a Nintendo Switch dev kit. And then the rest is just all on the website, tells you exactly what to do, how to do it, who to ask support for, etc. So, it's really a lot easier than people are thinking. We are far more available than you think. And as I was kindly introduced, it might be the first time that Nintendo is in Latvia. Won't be the last time. So, let's keep in touch and let's get some things going if we haven't started yet. So I've got a few more slides. I'm going to skip all this because this is all public information, by the way. Yeah, this might be interesting. Setup cost. So, well, how much do these dev kits cost? Isn't Nintendo trying to make money on me? Well, no, really, we're not making money on partners this way. The only way Nintendo ever makes money with partners is when your game sells. We don't charge you for anything before that. We don't charge you for submitting. We don't charge you for, updating your patches. We don't update you for downloading demos, etc. We don't charge you for anything. We only receive revenue share of the copies of games you've sold. So the main dev kit, I think, is around 800 euros, and that's for the what we call SDev, and that's what you need to start the development. And then you can also buy test kits, which I think are about 500 euros. So in theory, if you have 800 euros, you can start, and a PC probably. And again, we're not making any money out of this. This is cost. So yeah, it's pretty accessible. Yeah, tools, middleware. I mean, you can. Well, I'm not going to talk about Unity today because I know it's a bit. it's a bit of a change in scenery overnight. But Unreal Engine 4's on it, Game Maker, all sorts of things. If you've got proprietary engine, it also runs. And we have a team of engineers who can work with you to see if your engine runs on Switch. Most of things do. Yes, I mean, I'm going to skim through this because I've kind of talked about it. Register yourself, register your title, get age ratings. So this used to be really, really hard when you had to submit for age rating to PEGI, USK, whatever, BBFC, Zero, but now you can just do IARC. Just do IARC. If your game is digital only, you just need IARC, and I think that solves almost everybody's problems. Yeah, age ratings. Oh yeah, ESRB as well. Yeah, and then once your game is ready, you submit your title to lot check. This is basically the department that checks that your game does what you say it does. So if you send us a game and it says at the beginning on the screen, like, press A, and then they press A and nothing happens, you fail lot check. But if it says, don't press anything on the start screen, and something happens, then lot check will pass it because it does what it says, right? Or if it says press anything, and you press anything, and then it starts, then great, it works. So that's the level of things we're checking. We're not checking how great your game is. We're literally just checking that it works, and it complies with all the policies and guidelines we have. It's not a QA service. We don't do QA for free. So if you send in something that's broken, we'll send it back to you. So don't do it. Oh, there you go. Lot check is not QA, yeah? And then, yeah, once you pass lot check, then basically you're ready. You just submit digital assets, artwork, screenshots. Always upload a video. Don't be that title that only has screenshots, because people want to know how your game plays. Gameplay is so important. Always upload videos. And then, yeah, upload the assets, artwork, and then final step, release. You just set a time and you release it. So Nintendo eShop uses a system called what we call agency model. So essentially, we just provide you the platform, and you are the owner of absolutely everything you do. We don't tell you about, we don't give you advice on what you should do. We don't talk about pricing. We don't talk about release date. We don't talk about whether you should do pre-orders or not, nothing. You decide everything about your title. And then we just provide a facility for you to do so. Physical release, we're getting less and less of this because it's quite expensive, obviously, to buy the cartridges from us. And then you have to obviously then have a distributor. So for indie titles especially, what we're seeing now is that people just release them digitally first. And then, if it does well, usually a publisher from somewhere will approach you and say, oh, can we distribute a physical version of your game? And then that's good. And then I think you should then just let them do it, rather than trying to do a physical thing yourself, because we used to do the packaging and everything, but nowadays we just manufacture the cartridges and then just dump them in an airport near Kyoto, and then you have to do everything from there. Like, you have to hire someone to pick it up, assembly, print the artwork, distribute to retailers. It's so much work, right? So you should probably work with a specialist if you haven't done it before. If you've done it before, great. And then, Bedrun.
All right. Yes. So my part is really short. I will just start right away with digital sales and marketing tools, because this is what my team and me are doing. So basically, there are several tools for you to support selling and marketing your titles on Switch. You can see an overview, so you can do a demo, so people can try your game before buying it. You can set up your game for pre-order, so consumers can purchase it before the actual release. You can run a price promotion. You can set up an owner discount, so users who own title A get title B for less, for example. You can also promote your release with your media partners. And yeah, that's, sorry. Right. So this is an overview how Nintendo eShop looks. So on like the Nintendo eShop on Nintendo Switch is the primary place for consumers to purchase software digitally. So in addition, consumers will also be able to purchase content from Nintendo's main portal, websites like nintendo.com.uk, .it, for example. And like Mao said, Nintendo eShop is available in many, many countries and regions. In total, Europe, it's 31 countries. Additional to that, it's South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, USA, Canada, Mexico, Brazil. So mainly all the countries are there. And consumers can pay with credit cards, PayPal, prepaid, or Nintendo eShop cards, which are available at retail stores. So, like said, the Nintendo Switch news is really important, or I would say it is the most important channel for publishers. It is the main place on Nintendo Switch where games are promoted. So here users can get information about new and existing content. The main news channel is curated by Nintendo for all users, and it covers both Nintendo and titles from publishing partners. The good thing is that publishers can create their own little specific news channel, which users can subscribe to. And also one good thing is that users are automatically subscribed to the news channel of the title they buy. So this is an overview of how the Nintendo Switch news can be accessed. It can be accessed directly from the home menu, like you can see on the left side. And the interface is pretty easy to use. I mean, you just browse your game, rated articles in a timeline, and news articles cover a wide range of topics. For example, highlighted game, some information about upcoming DLC or an update with new content. It could also be a developer interview, information about the sale, or tips and tricks for a game. And articles can contain text, graphics, a video, links to a game page on Nintendo eShop, for example. Only articles and channels you have subscribed to will appear in your timeline. So this is also something you should keep in mind. Yeah, the slides are a bit outdated, but news is a very important tool for publishers, like I said. And we would strongly recommend that you create your own news channel for your titles to let Switch users know about your games. And yeah, so this was pretty much just how news works. If you have any questions related to marketing, just shoot them, because I'm mainly here for this. We can start? Or you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, so I forgot, I think we're missing some slides from here because for marketing, we obviously have NOE's central content editorial team who are handling their YouTube channels, Twitter, whatever accounts. And then one other tasks that Bedran does is he basically receives requests or assets from partners. He then trickles them down to the central team in NOE, who are then in turn talking to all the local markets within Nintendo of Europe with those 11 different offices. So like Nintendo UK, Nintendo France, Nintendo Germany, they all do their own things. And they are relying on Bedran's team to receive news from partners. They're not going on the web looking at what's coming. They're relying on Bedran's team to provide them what's coming. So, you know, that's another aspect of the marketing coordination we have. So, questions? Hello? Oh.
Right, thank you so much for your presentation. I can confirm that of all the consoles to publish for, Nintendo is probably the most approachable one, so thank you for that. I guess my question mostly relates to backend. Do I understand correctly that the website developer and like all the site websites like NCMS are worked on by a Japanese team, and is there a way to provide feedback on them, because the discount scheduling is much more slower compared to other partners that I work with? Like, it takes 17 minutes to put 3 titles on discount in 3 areas. So is there any chance to provide feedback for the development teams
So actually, NCMS is handled by Nintendo Europe for the European eShop. So we have 3 teams, as I said, 3 different offices, and they actually manage separate eShops. So Japan obviously manages the Japanese eShop, Korean, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and a few others. NOA, Nintendo of America, manages, I think, Mexico, US, Canada, Brazil, and a few others. NOE has about 33 eShops. And we have like a lot more currencies than just dollar. So that's probably the reason why it takes a bit of time for the system to pick things up. But if you have feedback, you can talk to the team. So, yeah. So if you're an authorized Switch developer, if you go to NDP, which you can access from here, all contacts are actually on here. So yeah, for NCMS, it's for Europe, it's basically they're called digital_publisher. Yeah, so you speak to them. That they're the people who are literally processing your stuff. We have like 5 people doing all of the submissions for whole Europe. Any other questions? Okay, very far away. Okay, you have a big voice. Yeah.
So from developer point of view, like what the game must to have itself that Switch user just take them like a hot potato. So like what genre, what game mechanics or settings game must to be like the most popular from to Switch user.
I think if I could answer that, I wouldn't be here because I'll probably be a billionaire. But I can give you an opinion. And I can give you my opinion based on the experience working with hundreds of thousands of games. Don't do something other people are doing. That's really important because if it's unique, I know it's a used like overused word, unique, but it's because it's actually important. If you're going to do a clone of some other game just to be on the trend, then you're going to be forgotten as fast as that trend came and went. And then what you're going to be left with is the reputation, right? And that's the problem with clone games. You might benefit in a very short term to make a clone game. Or, you know, you're basically fooling other people into buying your game, thinking that, oh, it's that game I heard. Oh, it wasn't that. But if you're not doing honest work, the reputation is going to stick with you. So your publisher or your studio is going to be remembered for doing that, right? So 3 years later down the line, you suddenly have this epiphany, and you now have this actual cool idea. Maybe less people will believe you because they'll think, oh, these are the guys who did blah blah simulator X that isn't blah blah simulator. And I think that really counts. So I think you need to work with, and I know it's easy for us to say this, but reputation, like building up your image, your brand, is far more important than just short gains of being able to buy the bread for today. I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah, I mean, you know, being innovative, but don't be the pioneer for the sake of just being a pioneer. Because if you do something special that nobody else does, is that because you had this amazing idea that nobody could have come up with, or is it because you're the only one stupid enough doing it? You know, that's the thing. So you have to make a difference between those things. And if you happen to be the only person doing it because you're stupid enough to do it, then there might be a reason why other developers are not doing it, right? So you have to think about that as well. So being innovative, but also look around, you know, making sure that somebody else hasn't done it yet, or if they have, why did they fail? Why did they succeed? Studying the industry and the trend is super important because you've got to know what people want. You sometimes have to let people realize they wanted something that they didn't even know they wanted. But I think innovation is definitely important. And then quality is also important. I mean, you know, if a game is not playable from start to finish in a pleasant way, you know, people are not going to torture themselves mentally going through this thing, right? So I think quality, which usually comes with passion, because if you want to polish your game and you want to make something happen, you make it. So I think all of these things put together leads to success. Easy for me to say, but that's all I can provide.
So in one of those slides you had like 40 different titles of games, and I think what most, if not all of them, have in common is that those are titles that are available on multiple platforms. Does Nintendo actually have an exclusivity program, and if so, what are its benefits?
Yep, that's a good question. So exclusives are tricky things. Because it has pros and cons. An exclusive title is obviously great for the platform because it really leads people to, you know, come to your platform. But I think in this day and age, exclusivity can also work against you. So for instance, I mean, what we're hearing from gamers from time to time nowadays is that when certain games become exclusive, without a very good reason, right? So I mean, for instance, Mario is Nintendo exclusive, duh. But you know, if another game made by a non-Nintendo developer becomes Nintendo exclusive, I think the first thing people say is, well, I don't own a Nintendo console, but Nintendo just made it, so I'm not able to play this on other consoles. We don't like you. You know, this is the sort of thing people are saying nowadays. And we're not really fond of ring-fencing content and kind of forcing people to come to our platform with a carrot that is this, you know, sought-after game. So what we're really actually pushing for is platform parity. So we want to give people option. We want people to be on Nintendo platform and play on Nintendo Switch out of choice. And we don't want people to feel like they were duped into playing on Nintendo Switch because of a certain game that we acquired. So that's kind of the mentality at the moment for us. And the other important point about exclusivity is that usually, when publishers come to us and say, oh, you know, we want to make this game into exclusive, we want to make this game exclusive for Nintendo. And we're like, oh, okay, great. I mean, that's nice, thank you. And they're like, oh, no. But we want you to pay for it, right? And then in our mind, okay, so you want us to pay for your lost potential revenue from 3 or 4 other platforms just to have this game on Switch, right? And Switch has sold well, but all the consoles and PCs combined, we can't win, you know, and all the mobile phones, so many units out there that are way greater than the number of Nintendo Switch. So again, it doesn't make any sense for us to pay for these potential losses of revenue. So that's another logical answer to that question. Any more questions?
Okay, all right. First of all, thanks for the presentation, and you quite clearly laid out what's the process of publishing. But I'm also interested in sort of the maintenance aspect. So what's the process for shipping updates or making changes to the store page, such as adding new screenshots? What's the process? How long would I expect that to take?
So that's actually fairly simple. Once you become authorized, you are given access to what the gentleman mentioned, NCMS. It's a system it's a publishing system backend. And it's all laid out basically. So when you want to update anything, in Europe it takes 10 working days. So if you want to, you know, change the pricing, or if you want to do a sale, All of these things, it takes 10 working days in Europe to do, because someone has to then check, approve, click. And I think in Japan and US it's 5 working days, because they have less e-shops to deal with. But in Europe, because we have 31 to look after, it takes us a bit longer to do. That's a separate one. So if you want to release like a patch, then you obviously you have to submit your patch to LotCheck again. LotCheck will get back to you within 6 working days. And then it's the same as publishing initially. It's all kind of the same process. But yeah, I mean we have teams to support you on that, so you can do any of that yourself. Yeah.
So I have a question about published Nintendo games, especially the Pokemon series. My main question is that like Game Freak is the first party developer, right, for Nintendo? It's like second, but it's still like under your umbrella, right? Okay, so the main question is with the Pokemon series, like in the last few releases, like the series, the quality has been dropping drastically, and especially the last game was in really bad shape. So my main question is, how do you see it for yourself? Isn't it like a bad precedent for other developers and publishers to say it's okay to release like a game not so good state and still like make record profits because the last game still like was the best-selling Pokemon game ever? So what precedent does it leave like for the other companies?
Sorry, I probably didn't clarify at the beginning. I only talk about third-party stuff. I don't actually get to even see the first-party stuff. So Mario stuff, Pokemon stuff, I have no idea. So unfortunately, I'm specialized in basically partners. So I'm not able to answer that, unfortunately. No questions? That's it? Oh, there you go. One more.
Based on his question then, what kind of quality control do you have for these third-party titles?
So as I mentioned in the beginning, we don't have concept approval. And once you're authorized, we have certain criteria. It's automated though, so it's not like we're looking at the individual applications manually. Well, we do, but it's not like we're going through it like we would for a job interview, for instance. And once a publisher is authorized to publish on the Nintendo Switch, the only control we rely on are age ratings. So if you're able to get an age rating, we don't comment on your content. We don't say, oh, that's good, that's bad, we don't like this. We don't do that at all. The only exception is that if we deem that content is harmful to our branding, our assets, to Nintendo's reputation, we usually retain the rights to do something about it. But that's all on the contract that you sign with us when you first become a publisher. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah, I want to clarify based on that question. Sorry, but in Steam we have this wave of shitty games, basically because the price you have to pay to publish the game is $100, yeah, to get the game on the store. So, but we see a quite small amount of games on Nintendo Store. So it's basically only because dev kit costs like something like 1,000 euros. It is the why you are not flooded with bad content. Because based on what you say, there is no quality control. Like there is no quality control on mobile, on Steam, and it's just shitty market.
So first of all, the dev kits don't cost 1,000. They're in a few hundreds. 800, yeah, not 1,000. Maybe, okay. So, yeah, that's a difficult question to answer. In my personal opinion, there are questionable titles on Switch. There are many, actually, especially from my taste, because I have a particular taste. So there are many games on the eShop that I wouldn't personally buy. It's not something we like, but as a platform provider, as I said, we can't just say, I don't like your game, we like your game, we're supporting this but not this one because we don't like you. We can't do that, right? Because it's we strive for a transparent business. Everything has to be fair. Everyone's on the same page, and as I said at the very beginning, we don't favor big companies. Just because you're from a big company, it doesn't mean we put your game at the top. And from that reason, we actually treat all titles fairly. No matter how big or small your title is, your game will come up on coming soon section on eShop. You know, we'll provide you all the support that we provide other titles. The only difference we can make is that we do have some curated content on eShop, on our website, and we can pick what games to push additionally. You know, provide marketing support, etc. For instance, Indie World, we're not going to put games we don't like on Indie World, for instance. And we're able to do this because that's our marketing activity and not necessarily a part of the platform service that we provide to developers. So we make a slight differentiation between the platform and the marketing side. So marketing side, of course, will, you know, if there are games we want to support because we think it has potential, we'll give you more support. If we don't think it will do anything, or if we think it's not something we want to push, you know, we won't do more than we have to. So that's how we kind of differentiate it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question about games. So you mentioned that most people starting from the release of Nintendo Switch, they bought console to play Nintendo games. Yeah, but when market was like full with another titles, people started playing other titles. We as developers may know that players on each platform, they are like separate kind and they have their own profile. And for Steam, we have some tools to monitor activities, to monitor wish lists, and to make at least some predictions, yeah, about to make some analytics. And I know that Nintendo is public company and publishes their own sales, but we don't know what is popular among third parties on your console. So maybe you can advise at least something how we can investigate this. What's popular? Of course, we know that Doom is popular, and it's a great game, but among smaller games.
Yeah, so the tricky part is that for each publisher, the data about how, you know, that title is doing is private to that publisher. So we basically legally can't tell other partners, oh, by the way, company B's game sold this many. We can't do that. So for that reason, we don't publish the performances. So I think the best way to do it is to speak to your industry networks and just say, how did that do? And then some will tell you, oh, Switch didn't sell at all. Or some will actually tell you, for real, oh, it sold better than Steam for my game. You know, so it really varies. But, you know, as I mentioned, it is actually true that more than 50% of the number of units of titles sold nowadays are from third party, which is unprecedented for a Nintendo platform. Even back in like Wii days, Wii U days, I think it was like 70-80% of the games sold were Nintendo games. And for Switch, it really isn't like that anymore. So we're really positioning our own games as a hardware driver. And then these people always then look for more games to play. For instance, a good example is Animal Crossing. I mean, who's played Animal Crossing? Yeah, lots of people. Again, that's something even my mother's played. And then what do these people do after playing Animal Crossing? They look for something similar. And the chances of Nintendo releasing another Animal Crossing-like game in the same platform is very little. So what did they start going and play? They started playing like, farming games or live sims from other partners. And that's how it kind of expanded the market. It brought in people from outside of the conventional video game playing audience. And we literally just pioneered like a blue ocean, and brought in, 10, 20 million people who's never played video games before. And we kind of got them hooked. And then what they're doing now is looking for other games to play on. And that's like the healthy business that we want to basically encourage. Yeah, don't clone it. Add your own element. Make something unique. Yeah. Okay, if that's all, then... Well, no comment, unfortunately. I can repeat what our global president said in the shareholders meeting. So there won't be anything by March 24. So this fiscal year, there won't be anything. And we will not disappoint you. I think that's what the other thing he said. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you to our guests for coming here. If you have any more questions based on the previous question, they're probably going to be around here during this evening, so you can do that. But we're moving forward, and let's have a very quick look at... It's not... Oh, Siemens, do the thing. I'll do it like 5 minutes, and then you can breathe. So let's look at what opportunities you have right now in as Latvian game dev. Okay, so the first thing is, okay, looks like people needed to go and breathe. Do you want a break or do you want to continue? They want a break. Raise your hands if you want a break. Okay, yes. 10 minutes, 5 minutes? 10 minutes, and then we're back. Viens. Okay, so we are continuing the meetup for all 10 people that are left. So let's take a quick look at the news and what opportunities await you right now. So the first thing is for all indie developers, you have a chance to get a free booth in Poznan Games Arena. So Poznan Games Arena with accompanying game industry conference is one of the biggest game dev events in Europe, happening in Poland, in Poznan. So if you want to, you can apply, get a booth there for free, and also enroll into the Media Indie Exchange program, which will help you gain visibility to your indie game. This is first come, first serve, and there's limited amount of spots per country. Next thing, also during this event is the Central and Eastern European Game Awards. Latvia is apparently Eastern Europe now, not Northern. So we're also participating, and there are several Latvian games that have been nominated. So maybe tune in into live stream or go to Poznan Games Arena and root for our people. The next thing is all game developers are invited to Halloween Game Jam in Sweden, Väckelsång, and this event, it's a week-long game jam, crowning with a masquerade, and food and accommodation is paid for. So all you need to do is get there, that's the only expenses, and then three meals a day and accommodation is paid for. The place itself is a co-living and co-working space for game developers, for indie game developers. I've been there several times. It's a really interesting good vibe there, so if you're interested, maybe this is your opportunity to go there. Next thing, hooray, an imaginary confetti, because we're growing. Since July, we have 3 new members. 2 of them are registered companies, Latvian companies, so that's SIA TAP and SIA Info Era, and also a person, indie developer, and he is the developer of Geopolitics, Conquer and Dominate, which is currently in Steam early access? No, it's not even early access. It has a Steam page, yeah, it's not released yet. And the last thing is, specifically for you guys, there's a chance to go to University of Economics and Culture Board Games Jam, which happening 9th to 13th of October. This is mostly geared towards the students, but for you guys there, there's a chance to go as well if you want to. If you want to know more, talk to Jāzeps or Ksenia. And my slides are gone. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for your questions.
Do we have 100 members now?
Yeah? We do? Damn. Nice. Confetti, I guess. Yay. So, I guess that's it. And what do we have next in the agenda? Right. Show and tell, right? Yes. Yes, show and tell. So it's free mic. Anyone who wants to talk, you have 5 minutes to talk, and I'm giving you the mic. Wow, the enthusiasm is just like, easy guys, one by one. Siemens can talk, great.
Hello guys. So basically last month was August. And I did 2 things. Well, I did a lot of things, but 2 main things are I gave a game design workshop to kids age 8 to 12 and 12 to 16, and it was pretty interesting experience. I talked with them about game design, and I gave them a task to make a board game. We had like 2 hours, if I remember correctly. And they had like these 3 elements to work with. They had like a couple of dice, and they could make a couple of characters from paper, and they had a board. And their task was to make a game that's like based on snakes and ladders. You could like add your own mechanics. You could like add your own twist to it. And here are some results. Like they actually were really good, especially for older kids. And One of the interesting ways how they did it was like in Snakes and Ladders you have to reach the end of the game, but in that game you had to go in a circle and collect resources. And so it was like this game, if I remember, you're playing as a cat and you're collecting fish, and the first person who collects a certain amount of fish wins. Also, I am working on my own board game. You can try it out afterwards. If you have time, it takes at least an hour to play, 2 to 4 people. And I'm currently working on art for it. Basically, let me think. I made like seven card art. So in like 2 years' time, maybe I'll have all cards ready. So yeah, look forward to that. Here are my socials, and thank you. And if anyone wants to present their stuff or talk about life or tell jokes, here is a mic. Anyone? Laura?
Or ask questions to Siemens, because you have 5 more minutes if you want to ask questions.
What happened to your mobile game? You had one. Yeah.
Somebody remembers. Okay, last year I made a mobile game. It is paid mobile game called Monaria. It costs like €1 on Google Play. I released it. I ran an ad on a countryside music channel, and like, like 8 people bought it. I spent like €50 on ads. And there's great news. So for over a year, I had no purchases. But now I am rich. You see? That July, somebody bought. It's like €1 or revenue. Okay. And maybe it was for my birthday. I don't know. If it was, then thank you. If it wasn't, still thank you. Yeah, I'm rich now. Thank you. Like, I really like the concept of the game, but it sucks as a game. I like the world. I would like to improve it, but right now I'm busy with the board game. That's the short answer. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Is anyone going for the Taylor Swift tour in Warsaw? Wow, this... Come on, this guy. I'm gonna need to talk to you, my man.
Any more questions on topic? Okay, yes.
Why you have slides for an answer?
Basically, I thought of including this, but I thought, why should I do it? It's like bragging about how rich I am, so only if somebody asks, then yeah.
Right. Any more questions? If not, who's next?
Okei, viskaantiin vaan. Man tikai vajag atvērt vienu video YouTube, ja varētu. Tā. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Martin. I'm a developer. I've been here before a month ago, and I wanted to talk about a little game I've been working on again. Some of you already have seen it, but I just wanted to maybe refresh your mind a bit. Last time I was here, I talked in depth about it, and yeah, the game is called Trying to Fall Asleep. It's a first-person action adventure horror game, and me and my team are working on basically finishing it. And in order to do so, we need a little bit of help because we're kind of running out of funds. So as a last-ditch effort, we've tried to basically put together a small little Kickstarter to gain the last few funds that we need. And today I wanted to just say that like our Kickstarter is open, and we just wanted to pitch the trailer for it. So yes, the second video. Don't play it right now. A question, would it be possible to dim maybe some of the lights a little bit so we can get a little nice mood here? It would be really nice. because the trailer is a little dark as for a horror game, so it would be nice to have a bit of darkness here. Here? No effect. Oh, there we go. Hey, look at that. All right. So, without further ado. So yeah, little context. So, me and my team have been working on this for a little while. This is kind of like so far how far we've managed, and yeah, this is what you can expect in the game, sorta. This is in-game footage as well, so please enjoy. And there you go. Yeah, so me and my team have been working on this pretty much, like the idea for it came in like 2015. We actually got to making it around 2018. And then we decided, okay, let's actually make this. And so far, 60% are complete. But for the last 40%, we would really appreciate some help in terms of like funding, because there are some like really awesome things that we would like to do and like, you know, reach as much of this game's potential as possible. And yep, this is all in-game footage. You can see this. Of course, there are some like, you know, cinematic shots and camera animations, but these are all game assets that are in the game. And yeah, here's the QR code. If anyone's interested, they can scan or maybe check it out later. And yeah, maybe any questions about the game or all this process.
First of all, like games are looking really nice. I always loved how it looked visually and stuff like that, and I've seen it before and followed a little bit. And from there comes my question. I know that the game is kind of in early access, right? Correct, on Steam. So my question would be, how was the Kickstarter received by the community? Is there any backlashes for games like in early access doing Kickstarters or something like that, or any comments?
Yes, so luckily, so far there haven't been any like backlash. Well, people are very supportive, and we don't have a huge following, but the people who have been following us have been still sticking around with us and haven't had any like issues with the campaign. We've been really careful with the Steam users because those are people who have already bought the game. So we didn't pitch the Kickstarter right from the get-go. We did say that we were planning on doing it, but we launched the Kickstarter, waited a bit, and then let them know. We thought it was appropriate. And we also pitched the Kickstarter not only as something that they can pitch into and help us finish the game, but it's also like an opportunity for them to get like some kind of physical goods. Like this is the first time we'll be doing like merch for our game. Never have done any like T-shirts or posters, so this will be like their first chance to get something physical for the game. And yeah, so that's kind of like how we handled it. And to elaborate on your question, yes. Luckily, we haven't had any backlash, and I think we've kind of handled it all right. By the way, I think we've already agreed that I will be the next presenter, potentially, if everything works out, on November. So, regardless of how this works out, we're gonna do our best to actually succeed. But regardless of the outcome, we will have a talk about the whole journey of the game, and including this, and we'll let everyone know how things actually went. So, yeah, that will be interesting. Any more questions?
A couple quick questions. How many people are working on the game and their roles? And did you have to spend any money right now for the game? And if you had any funding, or how are you funding it right now?
So currently there's me, there's a lead programmer, a 3D artist, an animator, sound composer, yeah, and a bunch of like voice actors. So it's roughly 5 to 6 people. Obviously we have a lot of freelancers who come in, they do their stuff, and then carry on. And in terms of funding, we basically started with 0. We had a demo which was like the beta, which was very successful in terms of like popularity, and we kind of had an opportunity to jump from that. We released the early access with only like 20% of the game, and that was basically our main income. We released the early access. So the game, real quick, has 6 levels, and we launched the early access with only 2. And the game was good enough that it was able to get some funding to build the next 2 nights. So that's how we basically funded ourselves. We did try to approach publishers, but that's a whole different story. I'll say for the next, when I'll get the chance to do a whole presentation on this. And yeah, any more questions? Feel free to ask.
Okay, do me a favor. Close your eyes, but slowly. No, just open it and close them slowly. All right. So, did you close your eyes like this or like this? Now fix your trailer and fire whoever designed the eye closing animation.
Well, if you can make it better, I would like to see you try. Well, all right. I have nothing to elaborate, but all right. Any other questions? Maybe not regarding the eyes. Not the eyes.
Is this the first project for the Amber Drop?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck.
More questions? Oh, yes.
Does the game look as dark as it was on the screen, or is just a projector?
I personally think it's probably the projector. Obviously, if you have Well, the game is kind of dark, but it's supposed to be dark. You know, it's a horror game after all, so there is a certain darkness associated with it. But in general, the game has a nice, quality of brightness. If needed, we can add a brightness slider if there would be enough requests for that. So, but yeah. More questions? Yes.
So you have like 4 million views only on Jacksepticeye videos, I think, and not that many players in your game. So where is problem by your opinion?
Well, the thing is, things come and go. They pop up, and then they have a tendency to go down. Really? Well. Well, it sort of is a tricky question. I've honestly kind of struggled to answer it myself, but it might be because, well, our community is a little small. We honestly didn't do a good enough job when the game blew up in popularity. We weren't able to convert that into our grow our community. Essentially, we didn't lay the groundwork for it. Another thing that I'm gonna be talking about in my talk in November, hopefully, how to do it properly and try to do a maybe better job at it. Also, the problem with our game is that this is a passion project, and only for like the last year we've been able to like actually spend more time than usual, and actually kind of try to work it out as like a full-time thing, more or less. And but the biggest issue is that, well, the game has been in early access for a while, and when you're not working on something for full time, it will take a lot more time, obviously, and that's why development has been going like this. Well, okay. We're still working on it and figuring things out. But if you have more like suggestions, or we can talk in private. Yeah. Any more questions?
So maybe the length of development is not always the bad thing. How many wishlists do you currently have?
Currently, we have 15K. So not too bad. Not huge, but not too bad, I'd say. Well, I'd say they are in the range of 20 to 30-ish. Well, below 30, I'd say. Yep.
Have you thought about talking with few publishers to secure funding?
Yes, I already said we did approach a few publishers directly and via email. We even went to Gamescom last year at the official business side of things and tried to pitch our game to them directly. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. I will dive into more details in November. So again, I'm keep pitching that November presentation. But yes, we did try to approach publishers. Yep. All right. Out of time.
Sorry. Okay. Is it a quick question? Okay. Go ahead.
I don't need it. Okay, I need it. Okay, so are you want to publish it on Nintendo Switch? Because I have one guy.
Yes, I would love to do a Switch port. It will need to be a bit optimized, but I think we could make it run at 30 FPS at least. All right.
Right. I would say it looks impressive. Anyone else? Show and tell. Or just tell. Or just show. Right. So last chance. Show or tell. If not, then you probably have been waiting for this. And I hope someone needs to call in Elvis, because we're doing the game. The game. Elvis. Elvis.
Do you know what time it is? I don't hear you. It's actually Game Endo. So, as always, the rules are simple. I show you some pictures, you combine them and guess the name of the game. The one who guesses the first gets one beer. The games will be something related to this. So these will be Nintendo games. So please shout out loud so that I hear who is the first. The pictures will be pretty simple, so you will probably guess them quickly, so be prepared. Let's start in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Yes, who said Pokemon? You get one beer. So it's Pocket and Monster Pokemon. That's actually where the name is from. The next one, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Yes, Animal Crossing, exactly. And the last one, 3, 2, 1, let's go. What did you say? Who said the first? Did you say Mario? You said Mario? So it's Mario. So it's Ma and Rio. So, so you get a beer. That's it, guys. See you in the next meetup. Bye.
So as always, thank you. That's it. Now, Siemens has brought his game, so maybe someone wants to play. Networking, drinks, and see you in October.